This is John Bailey, the epic voice of Honest Trailers, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. It's a Fangirls podcast with five-ish people. The tangents and squee will continue. Squee.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode 180 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Some people can read War and Peace and come away thinking it's a simple adventure story. Others can read the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper and unlock the secrets of the universe. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you join us. Let's start off like we do every week from the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in flooded Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hopefully you've got a life jacket somewhere.
Yeah, really. I can break out my canoe.
No art building yet.
Yeah, not quite yet.
Yeah, if you see some old guy in the distance building a really, really big boat, you better go get tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and animals pairing up to head in. Yeah.
I was going to hop on the back of the zebra and be like, let's go. Anyway, well, Mother Nature and Elsa are having like a fight outside or something.
Yeah. Right?
So it's been interesting.
And Rachel and I are kind of stuck smack dab in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Of it a couple of days ago, so I feel your pain.
Yeah. Ugh. It rained for like 3 days straight last week, and then it snowed over the weekend, and then it's raining again. It's like, oh my goodness. Anyway, this isn't the Five-ish Fangirls weather report, so.
While Mother Nature is getting herself sorted out, let's go on with the news.
Yes. So.
As much as we have, anyway.
Yeah, there's not a lot of news this week, so which is probably a good thing. So first up, some convention news. So Indie PopCon, which is slightly over 2 months away, which is crazy to think about, has made some, I'm doing air quotes here, guest announcements. They've made, 2 of these have been announced on social media. The last one will be announced on social media at some point this week. I don't know what day, but because they already have been promoting at Indiana Comic-Con over the weekend, I figure it's safe. So, because if you went to Indiana Comic-Con or you went to HoosierCon and picked up little advertising postcard thingies, it's got these people on here and then some. So, I figure it's fair game at this point. No. So, yeah. Indie PopCon, first up, Isaac Hempstead Wright, a.k.a. the Three-Eyed Raven, from Game of Thrones, the current Three-Eyed Raven, not the dead one, obviously. So, Hodor, we'll have a nice reunion with Hodor at PopCon, so that should be fun. And then for the, I want to say for the Star Trek fans, but considering the other thing that one of these people is so that than the other. So, first off, co-king of the nerds, because Chris Hardwick is CEO of the nerds with the Nerdist and everything, and then this guy's king of the nerds. Something, I don't know, but Will Wheaton, a.k.a. Wesley Crusher, a.k.a. himself on The Big Bang Theory.
Yes. Chaos on Leverage.
Yeah, he
is. Narrator of the Ready Player One and Armada audiobooks.
Yep.
And a few more.
Yep. Kind of appropriate, considering our subject this week, so.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, Will Wheaton, or Will Wheaton, as a lot of people, as I heard multiple times over the weekend, Wheaton. Everybody doing their best. Stewie from Family Guy, Wheaton. And then fellow Star Trek The Next Generation alumni and narrator to, if you're of a certain age, your childhood,
Yes.
LeVar Burton.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah, Reading Rainbow was my jam.
Reading Rainbow.
Yes. and then my dad would be watching Next Gen, and I'm like, wait a minute, he does Reading Rainbow, and I was really confused.
He did
I think
both.
the same thing happened to me.
Yep. And he's still continuing that on. He is reading to the adults because he has his own
Yep. He
LeVar
brought back.
Burton Reads podcast.
Yep.
Yep.
A nice Kickstarter several years ago and brought Reading Rainbow back.
Yep, that too.
Just for in a different format for a modern era.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the entire time I'm like, since I found out LeVar was coming, I'm like, he's from Reading Rainbow. Yeah, he was on Star Trek. That's cool. But Reading Rainbow!
Yes. That was
Yeah.
probably our first experience with LeVar Burton.
Yes.
Reading
And you know what?
For
You
me,
know
it
what?
was both.
Both fandoms are very appropriate.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
For me, it was both because we had the TV on PBS quite a bit when I was a kid. So a lot of Mr. Rogers, a lot of Reading Rainbow, a lot of Shining Time Station, and on
Yeah.
all
I
that
love
fun
Shining
stuff.
Time
Yeah.
Station.
Yes.
That's another one where I was confused. I was like, Ringo Starr's a Beatle?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's the engineer.
Yeah,
It's Mr.
exactly.
Conductor, what the heck?
Conductor.
I don't get it. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
And then he got
That one,
replaced
I
by George
don't-
Carlin, right?
Yes, and then George Carlin was
Yes.
Mr. Conductor for a while there. So anyway, that is a
Sorry,
podcast
tangent, I was
episode for
defending
another
Henry was
time.
correct.
We get really confused.
That's gonna be an episode at some point. We're gonna have to like talk about the PBS, shows that we watched as kids. But it was PBS, and then my dad was a Star Trek fan, and we watched Next Gen. Next Gen was always on the TV, so I remember LeVar Burton from both. So, and he did both at the same time. They even
Yeah.
went behind the scenes at
that's-
Next Gen in one of the episodes.
That's what's remarkable about it.
Mhm. So, but yeah, I'm excited for LeVar Burton. Like, say the things. That's the entire time of the Q&A. I'll be like, say the things. Say the words that we all want to hear. So, yes, and Indie PopCon, I'm I'm super excited. One, just because I say this every time I talk about it. It's a great convention. It's run really well. The folks in charge, they really care about the guest experience, and they really try to get a variety of guests, celebrity guests. You've got your YouTubers, and then you've got your voice actors, then you've got your TV and movie actors, and they try to get a little bit of everything, old and new, fandoms, that sort of thing, which is great. And I'm super excited, and at the same time my wallet is crying already because of the photos and autographs that I need to get, and they're not done announcing guests either.
No, it seems like these cons are never done announcing guests.
Well, no, but usually it's like, there'll be maybe one or two, but this time it's like LeVar Burton, they've got Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got Jason David Frank. It's like, oh my goodness. LeVar Burton and Jason David Frank, that is my childhood right there. That is the early to mid 90s right there.
Yep.
No. So, Indie PopCon, get on it. Still have time to buy your tickets. So, do it. Come join the fun. It'll be fun.
I want to. I'm half saying, hey people.
Yeah.
Somehow.
If you see some person running around dressed as Miss Frizzle singing the Reading Rainbow theme song, it's probably me.
And anyone who sees this person doing this, get video.
Yeah.
Yes. And send it to us.
Yes.
Because I'm still I don't know. What was I going to say? Never mind.
Blackmail. Anyway. So.
No! no,
Oh no,
it's
that's
funny.
blackmail.
It's not blackmail. It's hey, we're having fun, and this is going up on our YouTube channel and get a lot of views.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Hey, if you
Viral
wanna
video
laugh,
fodder.
we do have that video after your dentist appointment
Yeah.
somewhere.
We already used that one though.
Oh, that's true.
Oh my. Anyway,
Be ridicule. It's all in good fun.
I know. On to other convention news, and this is not so happy news, unfortunately, at least at the moment, is that the folks over at Starbase Indy have said that, short of a miracle, essentially, there will not be a convention this year. Which is due to a number of factors. It's some of it's manpower, some of it is monetary. A lot of it has to do with the manpower. Even though they have strived to keep the convention small, that it still requires a lot of people, both, the actual people that work out contracts and scheduling and all that fun stuff, plus of the volunteers that, during the convention itself to help make it run. So there is a meeting this Saturday if you go to their Facebook page, the information is there. But they want, if people can come, they're going to explain about what they need and see who can actually help. If you can't help, you can always message them, and see how you could potentially help. And just depending on how that goes, may be able to salvage a con this year. If not, they'll look towards 2019. So it may just be a one-off, and it'll come back next year stronger, better than ever. We were kind of joking when I was talking to some people. It's like, they're just going to come back, and this could be Starbase The Next Generation. It's like, it's going to evolve, just like Star Trek. If it has to leave, come back, it'll be Starbase Deep Space Nine. Who knows?
Well, there you go. And, I don't know. I think about all these people who organize conventions, large and small, and I've done, stuff with the library. We have our little, anime convention and Yule Ball, and they're doing a Star Wars event coming up next month. And I just think of, just our library system. It's not little, but it's not a great big Comic-Con, but it's still, that's a lot of work that goes into it. So, I can totally understand why, they would feel like they might have to cancel just because, like you said, it's a lot of work. And everyone who organizes these kinds of things, I have nothing but respect for them for all the stuff that they do, because it is like all the little details build up, as well as the big things that you have to put together. So, if you're involved in convention planning and you pull it off, more power to you, because that's a lot of work.
It's like a never ending. Once one con's done, you're starting to plan for the following year right away.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Power to the people who run them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Big love, all the props.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we love what they do, but then they also deal with, complaints and things not going quite as planned, and so it's a lot of work.
Stuff that's out of their control and hands.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to hop in and deal with some of those things with, just library programming, and some of that is similar, not exactly the same, but similar. But it's like, crap, someone forgot to get the water bottles or something, and so. It's like stuff like that can be really stressful, but so hopefully, Starbase Indy can get get some more help for a future con, whether it's this year or next year.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. On to other news. TV renewals and cancellations are still happening. And really, and no surprise, the CW has renewed pretty much everything.
Yeah.
They're still waiting on like 2 iZombie, the 100, and one other, I think, but otherwise everything else.
Yep. So Supernatural. So we're season 14 of Supernatural.
Oh,
Haven't they like, killed all the monsters yet?
No, but now
or whatever it is they do. I don't know. I don't watch the show.
nope. They're finding more.
They're finding it never ends.
And then crossing over with Scooby Doo.
Yes. Now, for those people who are wondering, you can watch the Scooby Natural crossover without really being spoiled at all from any of the other seasons. You can just go right in and watch it.
And be like, oh, it's an episode of Scooby Doo.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like it looks like one of those old Scooby Doo movie where they would cross over with other.
Yep.
Yeah, they've done like Scooby Doo meets like Abbott
Sonny
and
and Cher.
Costello. Yeah. So.
That's what they kind of did, is they took it in that vein and just
It just happens to be
good.
Supernatural. So yeah, Supernatural's got renewed. Riverdale got renewed. Everything in the Arrowverse got renewed, including the new Black Lightning. So, yay!
I fell off the wagon like 2 seasons ago because I did. It was just a lot to have to keep up with. It wasn't because of
the Arrowverse is
some of it
hard.
Yeah, some of it was quality going down. Some of it was like I just don't have enough time for this many shows.
Yeah. So I mean, I gave up on Arrow a long time ago. It's just depressing. Flash was okay. I liked Supergirl. I like Legends of Tomorrow. But then they start crossing over, and it's like if I only watched Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow when they cross over, am I going to be really confused, or am I going to be okay? So, but yay, keeping people employed.
I like how in the article it shows like how long Supernatural's been on, because it says that it's the longest running show in the CW and the WB, because it was on when the CW was the WB, which was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a lot of TV to get caught up on. So
even with the year of writer's strike in there, with the shortened season.
Yeah. No. I'll get caught up eventually.
Like I said, I'm going through my rewatch, and if there's any episodes that you need to skip on yours, I most certainly let you know.
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
It's saying in the article, the network recently announced it would expand its primetime programming schedule to 6 nights from Sunday to Friday.
Yeah, no. Sorry. I turn on my TV once a week. Maybe twice, depending on award ceremony wise. So. It's like, now Once Upon a Time and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are both on back to back. It's like I only have to turn on the TV once a week for 2 hours. And then when the antenna doesn't work, I yell at it and say not nice things that make Captain America very upset with me. It's like, I only need the TV on and a signal for 2 hours. Is it that hard? That's what happens when you decide to cut the cord and rely on regular TV. Anyway. So,
as for me, I have the TV on almost every night, except for Saturday. Saturday's the only night that there's nothing on I watch.
First world problems.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's it for news. The book club poll is up. So you can go do that. The photo challenge has started. So if you want to join in on our 10 years of the MCU photo challenge, you can do that.
Because I waited to post the book choice till April 2nd because I thought, April 1st, I don't want them to think it's an April Fool's joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, on April 4th, I don't open any... I very rarely open anything.
It didn't seem to be that bad this year, and I think that's probably because it also was Easter, so people were like...
Yeah.
Some people, like, they posted theirs, like, March 31st, like Pokemon Go. they changed it so that your Pokédex, all the Pokemon, the images of Pokemon were 8-bit.
Oh, cool.
But they did that before April 1st. But yeah, it didn't seem to be that bad as far as the jokes. I always like ThinkGeek when they put out the fake products, but then they always end up making at least one of them an actual product. I think it'll be the Klingon alphabet refrigerator magnets, more than likely.
I know. I saw those magnets, and I was like, I want those. I don't know what the heck they're saying, but come on, guys, make them real.
They probably will. Of the merchandise that they were advertising, quote unquote, that's probably the one they'll make. But anyway, so all right. So book club poll, photo challenge, real quick recap of Indiana Comic Con and HoosierCon. I was at Indiana Comic Con Friday for just a short time, helping out at the Who North America booth. We helped them set up Thursday, which went fairly well. We had a good number of people helping out, which was good. And then I was there helping during the con on Friday for like 3.5 hours, something like that, 4 hours. Once again, we were right across from the celebrities. Not that I could see any of them, because the way they've got it set up, the minute there's more than like 6 people in line, you can't see the table. So it's like, yeah, sure, Sean Astin is over there. The only person I got to actually see was, oh crap, what's his name? The voice of Batman from the animated series.
Kevin Conroy?
Yeah, Kevin Conroy, because when he came out, he literally jumped up on the table so that he could see the entire crowd and yelled very loudly, "I am the darkness, I am the night, I am Batman."
Nice.
So I did get to see him for a hot second. It's like, he said the thing! But other than that, I didn't get to see anyone. I heard a lot of cheering. It's like people would come out to their tables, people would be like, "Ah!" But that was it. But that was okay. It was a decent crowd for Friday. Friday afternoon, I think there were some. It probably could have been busier if it had been like spring break for like everybody, but it was Friday afternoon. It's opened at noon. So for some people, they were still at work. For some people, they were still at school, because not everybody, there were some schools that were on spring break last week, but others that already had theirs. Once it got later in the day, it definitely picked up. And then there was obviously a lot of cosplay, and it's always interesting to see how, because there's certain cosplays you're always going to see. You're always going to see your Batmans, your Jokers, your Harley Quinns, your Harry Potter related, your Doctor Who related. Some fandoms are stronger than others as far as percentage. Like, you'll always see some Star Trek. You'll see way more Star Wars because Jonathan Frakes was there. There was a definite uptick in Star Trek cosplay. I'm guessing that'll be the same case for PopCon. I even mentioned that as somebody said something in one of the cosplay pages I'm part of. They're like, "Hey, I want to see more after the weekend." They're like, "I want to see more Star Trek cosplay next year." I'm like, "Oh, if you want to do Star Trek cosplay, come to PopCon. We're going to have 2 Star Trek guests." So if you're a Star Trek cosplayer, there you go.
I should get Jared to get all his Star Trek stuff out, because he's got quite a bit.
Yeah. Did a lot of Harry Potter related, because I was there Friday, and that was the day that Matthew Lewis was there. And then the Phelps were there Saturday and Sunday, but I was not there. I do have one friend, though, that she did go on Sunday and got the photo op with the Phelps, and I guess they're the one practical joke, I guess, that I know of is what she said when they were standing in line for the photo op. I guess someone came out and said, "Sorry, one of the twins isn't feeling well, so you're only going to get a photo with one of them." And then they both came out. They're like, "No, we're just kidding."
Appropriate.
Yeah. That's all I heard as far as any shenanigans from the Phelps twins. So there may have been more. I didn't hear it from anybody that may have witnessed it. So, and then HoosierCon was the same weekend, which was slightly unfortunate, having two conventions in the same city on the same weekend, let alone it being Easter weekend. The whole Easter thing, at least for HoosierCon, purely coincidental because they always have it the last weekend of March going into May, and it just so happens that Easter fell onto April 1st. And it's not going to happen again for like 27 years or something, I think I read somewhere. So purely coincidental. The whole Indiana Comic-Con happening Easter weekend again, even though it's a completely different set of dates to last year where it was also Easter weekend. I don't know. I've voiced my opinion on this, about this convention and how I feel about it and how I don't really care for it. It doesn't have the same feel as something like PopCon or even Gen Con. Even Gen Con is as big as it is. It has a certain feel to it. And PopCon's kind of the same way where it has this like community feel to it. In Indiana Comic-Con, I've never been to a Wizard World, but I imagine it's kind of like what a Wizard World feels like. It just feels like a cash grab more than anything. The celebrity guests, it was an interesting mix. They were still hanging up the banners above each celebrity's table that has, a picture of them and their name, and the pictures usually of them from something that they're known for. So, Sean Astin, it was him as Samwise from Lord of the Rings. David Harbour is him as Hopper from Stranger Things, that sort of thing. And you just, as they finish hanging him up, we're still setting up the Who North America booth, and I just kind of look at him and I'm like, it's kind of an odd mix of celebrities. It's like Stranger Things is obviously, very hot property. Harry Potter, that fandom's not going anywhere anytime soon. Even without those particular actors, doing anything new. And then some of it was just like, okay, I guess you're, someone's going to want to meet you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have invited you. So, but it just, it doesn't it doesn't have the same feel to it as, and it's hard to explain unless you've experienced, like Indiana Comic-Con versus PopCon. So I don't know what to equate it to. So, and I don't know if it's just because the people that, own it and operate it aren't Hoosiers. They're based out of Florida. So it's like, I don't know if they really get the whole Hoosier Con, Indiana convention scene like PopCon does, where they're local and live here. And
I'm sure it makes a difference.
So anyway, supposedly Indiana Comic-Con is once again moving dates, and supposedly next year is going to be Labor Day weekend.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
That has not been officially announced, but from people I know who have talked to people who run the con, supposedly they're moving to Labor Day weekend next year. Whether that's on purpose or if that's just what was available as far as the convention center is concerned. Because I know that's a big thing too. With when they expanded the convention center in Indianapolis, and built Lucas Oil Stadium so that we could host a Super Bowl several years ago, adding the additional convention center space opened them up to being able to do a lot more, not just host a Super Bowl. And they're obviously doing that, as I've mentioned with things like PopCon the last couple of years. Like PopCon will be in one end of the convention center, and then the other end is, something completely random as far as subject matter for a convention. Like there was a tool convention one year where they talked about like tool making and roofing and stuff, and then there was like a women's conference upstairs. There's been like religious conferences the same weekend, so they definitely tried to use, book the convention center as much as possible. So for some of the conventions, they have to move around dates wise based on what's available. Even Gen Con has shifted. It's always in August, but the weekend in August has shifted based on the convention center's availability. So I'm sure that has to factor somewhat into it. But anyway, we'll see. And then I was going to go to HoosierCon Saturday and Sunday, but I was just so tired from helping out with Indiana Comic Con that I stayed home Saturday. And it was gross outside anyway, so that worked out well. But I did go for a little bit on Sunday. I caught some of the independent show. I said hi to John, and I mentioned that I would mention this on the show. John, half jokingly, I think half serious, would like to do a calendar of Indiana-based content creators who wear fezzes.
Rachel, do you have a fez?
I don't. I could get one. So off the top of
you could make one. They're not that hard.
Well, that too. So we could come up with 3 off the top of our head, off of our head, including Tony. From Geeking in Indiana. Sorry, Tony. You may end up being the centerfold.
You've been voluntold, my friend.
Yeah, sorry. Tony's gonna be like, "What? What did I miss?" You get volunteered for stuff. And then there were a couple of artists that were there. Like, well, I have a fez. So we have 3, but I told John I put the word out. So if anyone listening knows, or you are someone who in the state of Indiana who is a comic artist or a podcaster or a YouTuber or whatever, and you wear a fez, contact John Graham of the Independent Network. He has an idea. Yeah. And then I saw Scott and some of the Gaming with Scott crew and caught them recording a live. They were playing through the Star Trek RPG, which was kind of fun. And then that was about it. It was fairly quiet. It was Sunday. By the time I got there, people were checking out the hotel and packing up their vehicles and get ready to hit the road. And it was Easter, and it was the Sunday of a convention weekend, which is always, people are just kind of dragging their butts at that point. Like, oh, I'm so tired. I've been gaming for 3 days. Yeah. In HoosierCon's case, like, I can't play D&D anymore. Need some sleep. So I guess for me, convention season for the year has started, but somewhat on the quiet side. I tried to not overdo it, and I'm still kind of feeling it, so I'm glad I didn't push myself any further. But conventions, yay! So we'll see what happens with the Indiana Comic Con. But for now, those are done and over with, and now it's time to count down to PopCon. I'm so excited. All right, with that, we shall move on to this week's topic. So, for anyone that maybe has not been paying attention, yes, it is now April, and they count down to Infinity War, is nigh. It's this month, but before Infinity War is released and breaks all sorts of box office records and makes everybody lose their collective mind. There is a very anticipated movie that came from a book.
Yes.
That was released this past weekend. So, Ready Player One, the first type of film like this that Steven Spielberg has done in quite a while.
Yep.
He's been doing very Oscar baity movies for the last few years, I think. Things like The Post and other things. I'm not entirely sure what else he's been doing. But yeah, Ready Player One, which is people have been anxious for this movie to be released, just because the book has been, people have been waiting for this book to be adapted into a film, and I've read the book.
Yep, I did too.
Holly's read the book.
I did too.
Brittany read the book in like a day.
Yep.
I have not seen or read it, but I'm okay because it really wasn't something that I was really.
I don't know, and I wasn't either until I read the book. I didn't even know it existed. I know Chauncey came home with a copy of the book. He got it as a swag gift when he went to Oculus Connect a couple of years ago, I think.
I'm not surprised that would have been something from there.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. And it came in like his swag bag along with some other really cool stuff. Because it's all about virtual reality and the Oculus Rift. It's a it's a VR headset. Mm-hmm. Imagine that.
Yep.
And he came home with this book, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll read it eventually." And I was like, "Okay, well, I've never even heard of it, but whatever." And then, we got like the first trailer, and I was like, "Oh, that's that book that they're making a movie of it." Okay. And I think Chauncey started to read it, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. Mm-hmm. Chauncey started to read it and gave up like 10 pages in. He's not a big reader, which is fine. Books are, audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some people, they just can't sit and hold a book and flip the pages and all that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So he gave up, and I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. And I surpassed him pretty quickly. And then I think it ended up taking me a couple of weeks, I think. Just because I don't have the time to read like I did when I was younger. Back in my day. I had all sorts of time to read all 50 books uphill both ways in the snow.
And that would make trudging through the snow so much better.
Yeah, really. But once I hit, I don't know what chapter or how many pages in it is, but once Wade gets the first key, like the book really takes off. And yeah. But you just, those first couple of chapters with the world building and character introduction and backstory and all that, it takes a little bit, but once the quest like really gets going, then it's like the book really gets going.
Yeah. And then having to dodge the IOI guys and Sorrento.
Exactly. So, yeah. For once, it was one of those, I went into the movie having read the book. Which is unusual, unlike other than Harry Potter. It hasn't really been the case for a lot of things. A lot of times I'm like, this was based off a book? I had no idea. Like Die Hard. Did you know Die Hard was based off a book? I had no idea.
I vaguely knew that. Yeah. I feel like I've heard that somewhere, but it's not something I think about a lot.
Yeah. So.
until someone mentions it.
Exactly. So, but this was one of those where I knew the book. The book was still fairly fresh in my head going into the movie because it's only been like a month or so since I finished it. And then we went and saw it Saturday night. Chauncey and I went and saw it with our friends Ben and Aaron and their friend Mike, who they all have a podcast together, which I've mentioned because Chauncey was on their Last Jedi recap review episode, Spark of Madness. So we went and saw that with them. We saw it in 3D, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, especially not for first viewing, for a movie that's got this much visually going on. Because I really felt like wearing the 3D glasses hindered my ability to pick up on the details. That,
like Sean was saying in his review, it's just like, this is when you can't wait to either go to a second viewing or get the physical Blu-ray,
and go frame
or
by
your
frame
streaming
by
copy
frame by frame,
frame by frame.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those where you could go frame by frame by frame and find all the little Easter eggs and pop culture references and everything. So yeah, I definitely want to go see it again in 2D and sitting further back from the screen.
Yeah, I saw it 2-3, and I was a bit back than I normally would, but I enjoyed, like, I haven't seen it in 3D yet, but I can imagine how distracting, I guess, the 3D could be.
And usually I like 3D. I usually don't do 3D for a first viewing for anything. But we needed to go at a certain time, and 3D was the only thing that was available, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, you definitely, I can definitely see why people are saying see this in the biggest screen possible, because it is just, it's bursting at the seams with stuff.
Yes. That
being said, unlike the book, the book is chock full of stuff and references and mentions most of it's the 80s, because that was Halliday's favorite era, is the 80s when he was a kid. So 99% of the references are 80s references. But in the book, most of the 80s stuff ends up being important to the quest. In the movie, it's really there just for visual eye candy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because
that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
From people.
I can understand why they did certain things when trying to adapt it for the movie. One, because some of the quests is literally, like the first quest, he is playing a arcade, stand-up arcade game against another, opponent. That may not be that interesting for movies to watch someone play a video game. So having switch it to something like the car race, way more visually interesting.
Yeah. And I was okay with that.
Yeah.
And then the second quest, they had to go into the War Games movie.
Yeah, and instead they
out.
Instead they do The Shining instead, which that probably just came down to licensing more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine that a lot of things, and we will probably never know, but I imagine a lot of the stuff that's missing as far as intellectual property and the way things changed came down to licensing, and what they could get the license for. There's a lot of DC characters, and that's because it's Warner Brothers and they own those. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff that's tied to Steven Spielberg because of his characters, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of it comes down to what would actually translate well to the screen and keep people's attention, and what can we get the license for. But they did try to add little hints here and there to the tasks if they couldn't directly put them into the movie. Like, instead of going to the planet where it's multiple recreations of Halliday's hometown and the house he grew up in, at the end of the movie, when he's receiving the egg and talking to Halliday, it's in the bedroom with a young version of Halliday playing a video game. Instead of them, acting out Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they have the Holy Hand Grenade as one of the artifacts. So I really didn't have a problem with that.
I like the one other change too is the group was almost already kind of formed almost at the beginning of the movie, instead of like in the book where they kind of begrudgingly kind of join together.
Yeah, have to team up because they the high five.
Yep.
It's like, we're at the top 5 at the leaderboard. It's a bunch of Sixers behind us. We really should, make sure, that the Sixers don't win. This. See, I don't know. There's some things that they did that I don't necessarily dislike, but at the same time, now I'm not like, oh, that was a good change. I thought the fact that they brought the high five together sooner, and they have Wade meet, well, in real life, Samantha, like halfway through, as opposed to the entire time, he's falling for her, but doesn't actually know who she is in real life. And it's not till the very end that they finally meet. Because of the way they did that, they eliminated a lot of Wade's character development. And I don't know how I feel about it, because in the book he goes on this character arc where, he's really poor. He's probably one of the poorest people, that's considered a gunter or whatever. With the people that are really diehard and trying to complete the quest and find Halliday's egg, other than the Sixers. Wade's this super poor kid. He lives in the stacks with his aunt and her no good boyfriend, and he doesn't have any friends in real life. H is his only friend, and that's only in the OASIS. He doesn't do any after school activities because he can't afford to travel anywhere. He's got really basic armor for his avatar. He has no, artifacts or anything. So, and because he can't afford to travel anywhere, he can't afford to do any side quests to earn coins and XP and that sort of thing to level up his avatar and that sort of thing.
Because H would sometimes have to float him the cash.
Yeah, exactly. And then, in the process of him crossing paths with Artemis, he develops a crush on her, which he had a crush on her before they actually crossed paths, because she was this real well-known gunter with this blog, and she's internet famous essentially. And in the process, he ends up alienating H and everyone else, and goes on this kind of path of in the process of him alienating him himself, and kind of, almost losing his friendship with H and everyone else, that it forces him to fix himself. He describes himself as fat and, pimply and, not that good looking. And once he finds himself absolutely alone. He decides, I need to exercise. I need to eat better. I need to, that sort of thing. And then he doesn't do that in the movie.
No.
And
they kind of twisted a little bit too of his story, Wade's story with Artemis, where he actually decides not to pay any of his bills and gets
sent to the loyalty center.
Conscripted to the loyalty center.
Yeah. Instead
of Artemis.
Yeah. And then in the books, the loyalty center, they don't the entire idea of, and I think this is probably my biggest issue with the movie, is they don't emphasize enough how important the OASIS is to essentially the entire planet. The entire population of the planet, how the OASIS became so important. There's a little voiceover at the beginning. He talks about, he drops something like the corn syrup drought or something, where in the book they lay out this way worse dystopian, the food shortages, the population gets out of control, the sea levels rise, so people have to move in from the coast, which creates even more population issues. There's an oil shortage, so people have to abandon their cars, all this sorts of things. And it doesn't, we go to the stacks, but it doesn't really spell out just how bleak everything has gotten. And that's why people have really gone to the OASIS. And it doesn't really explain just how bad of an idea it would be if IOI wins the quest and gets control of the OASIS. They talk about advertising, like, oh yeah, we've estimated we can block 80% of someone's visual field before it induces seizures with advertisements. It's like, that's really about as far as it gets, and they don't really explain, other than, I guess, if you're someone that just doesn't like corporate whatever, then you can fill in the gaps yourself. So the stakes are there, but they don't seem as high in the movie. And I think that's probably my biggest issue with the movie compared to the book, is it doesn't seem as dire a situation and as world changing if IOI was to win control of the OASIS. So that's me. Anyone else feel that way? Anyone else kind of get that impression?
Yeah, like, how am I trying to want to explain how I feel? Like, I think it's like I just read the book like a week ago. Like, I had all that in my head while watching it, so I kind of like fit the pieces while I don't know. Like, I can see that issue, and if I hadn't read the book so right away, probably agree. But I think because I just freshly read it, like, I could picture, like, don't know how to explain this.
Like, your brain
properly.
was filling in the gaps.
Yes, yeah.
I could see that. I could kind of see that. So, and Chauncey said the same thing when we were discussing it yesterday when we were on the Spark of Madness, which whenever that episode goes live, I'll post in the show notes. Because Chauncey has not read the books, and he's like, I could. He was able to kind of fill in that plot, I guess, without reading the book.
That's what happens when you have these movies that are based on books, is people who haven't read the book just kind of assume, oh, that's something that's probably explained in the book, and moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. So, but it kind of takes the movie and makes it And it's not necessarily a negative, but it makes it so that you're not as emotionally invested because it's not, which that makes the movie easy to watch, I guess, as opposed to something where it's, the subject matter is way more dire, like something like the Hunger Games, where, if you're talking about a dystopian society where, like, kids are dying, Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, for everything I know about the movie and the book, like I said, I haven't read the book. I've had other things to do. It's like they're really wanting to market on the nostalgia factor. Is they're really pushing, like, there's a DeLorean and there's all this and I just keep thinking all I really see in the marketing or people talk about is like there was a DeLorean in the movie and I'm like, and what else you got? Sort of a thing. So it's kind of like, I think that's, and same thing kind of with the Hunger Games with the marketing there. I remember is like they wanted to play up the, Team Gale, Team PETA, or here's all the crazy stuff that the Capitol wears. And so it's like when Hollywood gets hold of these books, they really, siphon off a lot of the, I guess, more uncomfortable parts of the story, because if you think about it too much, you're like, yeah, that really, like, kids killing each other, that's really bad, or whatever's in Ready Player One that makes people squeamish. So it's kind of like, they want there's certain movies that they want you to be entertained and have fun, and this is probably one of them, even though because Hollywood has their Oscar bait movies that make you think that nobody goes to, but those are for Oscars. And then there's, movies in the spring and summer that they want people to go to and spend money.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's, they want people to have fun, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or they think that's what people want, to have fun. I don't know. That's my explanation, not having read the book or seen the movie. No. But I kind of feel like that's just going by what you're describing. That's what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, there's a lot of nostalgia, and stuff would pop up on the screen, every now and then, and be like, oh, the DeLorean, or ooh, Battletoads, or it's fun to see those, but they don't really play a purpose other than just, if you're a fan of 80s things, you'll be like, oh, there's that thing, or oh, there's that thing, or oh, there's that thing, or the music. There's a lot of, classic 80s era, and some 70s. They play the Bee Gees at one point. But a lot of it is 80s music, your Van Halen and things like that. Which musically, the 80s music definitely is a focal point for the movie. It is scored. There is scored type music. There's not a lot of it. There's a couple of scenes that it kind of stood out to me that it's like there's no music playing in the background. There's just the sound effects. There's no music, which was kind of weird. But that's a choice that between Spielberg and Alan Silvestri, imagine that. Which is why you hear a little bit of the Back to the Future theme.
It was funny, like during the movie, I was like, this reminds me of like the times when you did hear the music, like this kind of reminds me of Back to the Future. And then at the end, like the composer was Alan Silvestri, I'm like, that
would be why. Like, he can use his own music.
Yep, don't have to worry about licensing for that.
Exactly. But in the book, it's, you almost have to have the Gunters that want to get anywhere. You have to have like the internet in their head with just all of this information. And it's not just information about Halliday, it's just information. I mean, it all eventually ties back to Halliday. It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. But, it's video games, it's TV shows, it's movies, it's albums, You know, people have to know an entire Rush album.
Yep.
Because that's important to one of the tasks. But in the film, and I actually kind of like the way they did this in the movie better, is the tasks are way more focused on Halliday himself.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, not just the things he loved, but him as a person. You know, the people that he knew, which you could count literally on one hand. It's Og's wife, and Sorrento, essentially.
Yeah. Kudos to Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
For Og.
Yes.
And, you know, Sorrento, if you didn't realize it, it's the same actor who was Krennic in Rogue One.
Yes.
Vibes off of him. And then as soon as I walked out of the theater, I looked like, you played Krennic. That was why.
That was a face palm. Like, I didn't realize until Holly said something to me. It's like, really?
Which, Sorrento in the movie is an idiot.
Yes.
Yes.
He's way smarter and
in
way
book,
more technologically capable in the books, but in the movies, he's an idiot. So
yeah. I laughed so hard with the password.
Yeah.
People do that though.
I know.
That's the thing. Is it's like, you know, people were laughing like, who puts their password, you know, right next to their piece of technology where anybody can see it? Like, a lot of people do that. Granted, it's people like my, you know, Chauncey's 91-year-old grandmother whose memory's not that good. But
yeah, people they'll have their passwords in their book.
Yeah.
Or their little notebook that they keep in the desk drawer.
Yeah.
Or right by wherever.
Yeah. He literally has his password on a Post-it note attached to his haptic rig.
Yeah.
Maybe people were laughing because they know they either do it or they know someone who does.
Probably a little of both, actually.
Yeah.
Probably a little of both.
I kind of like the twist that they did with IROC.
Yeah.
In the movie as compared to the book.
Yeah, where he's just a wannabe Gunter, and he's not, and you know, he's just some kid who thinks he knows stuff but actually doesn't.
Yeah.
Which for the life of me, I was like, his voice sounds really familiar, and it wasn't until I looked, and I was like, yeah, like the following day, I'm like, it's T.J. Miller, Deadpool, hello. I was like, why does his voice sound so familiar? It's because he's Deadpool's friend. That would be why. From the bar. Like, I'm quick. I'm so quick. Although. No. But. Yeah. It's like, I liked it. I like it enough I want to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one of those where I could argue that the book is better than the movie or the movie's better than the book, because it's like two sides of the same coin, almost. So, or I forget which one of the guys we were with. Because I was trying to explain it like it's a set of identical twins that have decided that they don't want to be identical. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, there's some identical, like The Shining, like there are some identical twins where they dress the same, they, you know, they talk the same, they like the same things, you know, they're into the same things. But this is more like a set of identical twins, but that they look exactly the same. But one is like, you know, I'm a jeans and a t-shirt kind of person. And the other one's like, you know, I like wearing leather.
Yeah.
Or, you know, one of the guys we were with is like, yeah, it's like an identical, you know, it's a set of identical twins. And one of them went into space and it changes DNA. Which that's an actual thing. That actually happened.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you can really say one is better than the other because they both have really good things about them, and they both have their flaws.
Mm-hmm.
From someone who is married and lives with someone who works in virtual reality, the visuals of the Oasis are amazing, and just the idea of the Oasis, both in the movie and in the book, is exciting and scary at the same time, because more than likely in maybe our lifetime we will get the baby version of the Oasis. Like, that's something that Chauncey's working on, is things like the feedback, the haptic feedback. Obviously, they take a lot of artistic license in both the book and the movie with, like, the suits and how well you can feel. If someone was to tap you on the shoulder, or if you were to dance with someone or kick someone in the crotch.
Yeah.
How well you would actually feel that. We're still years away from feedback like that. But other things...
Something tells me they don't want to get too realistic with some of those sensations.
Yeah, probably. But, some of the other stuff, like wind and, being able to, change the way you look in a virtual environment, that sort of thing, we're getting there. The technology is definitely getting there. Which is exciting and kind of scary at the same time. It's like, I'm excited to see where virtual reality goes, because I do believe that it is the future of the way we, at least the way we consume some things. But at the same time, I don't like the idea of, the real world getting so bad that absolutely nobody wants to be out in the real world. And would rather have, a virtual headset on 24/7.
Strapped to your face all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And sitting on the couch.
Yeah. That seems...
I don't know. It's
bleak.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, I don't know. I mean, this could go into like some big philosophical discussion that probably isn't the purview of our podcast, unless we really wanted it to be. Yeah. But I don't know. I think a lot of times when people bring up these new technologies, like, oh no, the world is ending, or this is the end of going outside, or no one's going to read a book anymore, or whatever. It's just like, people get used to these things. I use the example of social media. We'll use that. And I see a lot of people, there's a lot of people who just spend all their time on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, talking, arguing, whatever it is they do. And then I see people that are like, I'm really sick of being on social media. Like genuinely, they don't want to do it anymore because of people who are just arguing and being gross or whatever. And so I think, and then there are those people like, I'm going to go do something else and, go outside, read a book, play a sport, or I don't know, whatever hobby, insert your favorite non-technological hobby here. So I think that, virtual reality is going to have its place in, whether it's gaming or what have you. But I think we're always going to have that touch to the real world, because no matter how real virtual life gets, it's not going to be real world. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just, with all the things that we have and that we're working on, and as advanced as things get, I think, you're just never going to be able to replace that fully. And it's more of a tool than consume your life. My theory, anyway.
Mm.
You think so, Alex?
Yeah.
He's been over here wanting to voice his opinion. On what, I do not know. He hasn't seen the book, or seen the movie, or read the book, either.
Well, if you want to do the book on an audio version, it's read by Will Wheaton. Who gets name dropped in the book. So.
Yep.
Well, there's Inception for you.
Yeah. Although Ben said that Will's reading of it actually is not that good. He doesn't like the way he pronounces some things.
Yeah, that makes a difference when you're listening to an audiobook. I've listened to audiobooks where the narrator pronounced something really, really weird, and it just took me out of the book.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, don't do that. Stop.
That's not the way things are done.
Mm-hmm.
Please stop.
Anyway, well, I think maybe I'll add this to my ever-growing pile of books I'm reading.
Yeah.
And I haven't got to the theater since Star Wars, so I don't know if I'll get to see the movie in theaters, but maybe when it's on Netflix or something.
Yeah, or Redbox or something.
Redbox or the library.
Yeah. Yeah. If you got a decent TV, then I think you'd be okay. So.
Yeah.
Me, not so much.
What do you have, a little 10-inch screen that has to warm up after?
Well, no, it's not quite that bad, but my TV has a built-in VHS player, if that tells you anything.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I went home. Quick tangent. I went home TV with the VHS and DVD player, and I'm like, this thing I took to college, and I'm thinking college wasn't that long ago for me. Oh wait, I guess it really was.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I kind of miss, like, I had the same TV, the DVD, and VHS. Like, I actually missed that one.
Yeah.
It was like purple and really cute.
They last for forever. That's the thing. It's like that's why we haven't bothered. It's like this TV still works.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and like I'll tell another story. At the library a couple weeks ago, there was this lady came in with this VHS tape of a mini series that aired I don't know when, and she wanted to know if there was a DVD of it because she wanted to watch it. She only had this one part, and I was like, no, there's no DVD of it. So there's plenty. There's VHSs on Amazon, but library doesn't have those. And I was like, man, there's stuff that never made it to DVD. So when are you gonna get to watch that? How are you gonna watch it without a VHS player? Moral of the story, don't get rid of all your old electronics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe just keep it in storage or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was
even once we do get the OASIS, keep that old technology because you never know when it'll come in handy.
Because not all of it gets converted apparently, which is kind of sad. But that's, I don't know. That's me. I'm a librarian. I want everything to be available, even if I don't personally look at it. I'm like, it needs to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
With the ability to watch it or whatever. Anyway, many tangents.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean,
anything.
That's the thing with. I mean, this particular, I guess, subject matter and this book and this movie is just this. We're of a certain age where it's like. A lot of the references, maybe we're not quite old enough to remember when that stuff was new, but we still kind of grew up with it. Things like Back to the Future and Star Wars and that sort of thing. But then we're also alive now where some of the technology is actually coming to fruition.
Yep.
So it's like the nostalgia is strong for us, but at the same time, it's like, oh, virtual reality. Let's see what kind of
this
toys.
Is something that we only dreamed about, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's like, we watch Star Trek and, we look at things like the holodeck and it's like, oh, that's cool. That's never going to happen in getting there.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to go that far. I mean, I watched DS9 and I see, Jake is writing his books and it's on this iPad looking thing, and I'm like, hey, I've got one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's where they read books too, and it's like it's a Kindle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's an interesting. Ready Player One will be this. The 2010s, I guess. So.
Yeah. It'll definitely be something that's of its time, but that's you need stuff like that, as if only for historical purposes.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, anything else?
80s, nostalgia. I think you'll enjoy the movie. It's a fun romp. It's an easy watch. Like I said, it's not, you grabbing the nut, your chairs and white knuckling, chewing on your fingernails, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Type of thing. It goes by. It's paced fairly. It's definitely rewatchable just to try to catch all the things. When you get large groups together, especially the big battle at the end, trying to pick out the different intellectual properties that are represented, you could spend several rewatches doing that. The music is fun. The Easter egg references are fun. So it's a fun watch. It's not anything that's going to make you really think.
It's a good popcorn flick.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. It's a good popcorn flick. So.
Which ironically, I didn't have popcorn because I thought I left my credit card at home, but I didn't. And too late to realize, oh wait, I did have it. So no popcorn for me that time.
Oh, well now you need to go back and watch it again so you can get popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right. Well, if any of you listeners have seen or read Ready Player One, or both, and you want to chime in with your thoughts, you can send us feedback through our email address, which is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is thefiveishfangirls.com. And there, on our website, are all of our links to our social media stuff, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And we'll read your comments if you leave them there. Out on the podcast if they're there, and you can also become a Patreon supporter there and find our Amazon store and do some shopping, and we get a little cut of referral bonus, I guess is what they call it, and also have a shirt, a t-shirt shop on the website. So plenty of ways to support us, even if you don't send in feedback, or you can send in feedback, and that's a good way to support us. However you interact with us, however you choose to do it, we are grateful for it. We're glad you're here listening to our podcast and just being a great audience. And Alex thinks so too. And I want to say thanks everybody for being really patient and appreciative of her understanding, because I have to podcast with a very wiggly and vocal baby.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But it's fun. He enjoys it. Anyway.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, unless anyone has anything else to add, I guess we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bethlehem saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Ninjas don't hug. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by their respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.